Hey guys, we're doing rotors and pads on the front of this 2013 Ford Edge. Now this is a 3.7 liter V6, but I believe the brakes, I could be wrong, I believe the brakes are the same across all of the models. Let's get started with some tools. So we're going to need just a few tools to do this job. This is a pretty simple job, but we're going to need a 19mm socket to get our wheel nuts off, as well as the anchor bolts. I have some flex sockets. I find these work best with my impact gun, but you can use just regular sockets and a ratchet if you want, or a wrench. You're also going to need a 17mm as well. I recommend a couple of flashlights if you don't have the best lighting situation. Also a hammer, a pry bar, a hook to hold our caliper, and then we've got a drill here with a wire brush so we can clean up any corrosion or rust. And then a couple products here. I've just got some copper anti-seize, a little bit of brake cleaner, and this stuff called honey goo. It's just basically a lubricant. Also, most importantly, the torque wrench. That brings me to my next point here. Here are the torque specs for all of the hardware that we're going to take off. So wheel nuts, 100 foot-pounds. The caliper bolts that hold the caliper to the anchor, 25 foot-pounds, and the actual anchor bolts themselves that hold the anchor to the steering knuckle, going to be 98 foot-pounds. So pretty simple. We'll have a link in the description for some brake parts if you want to just head on down there and grab those quick and easy. But without further delay, oh, one more thing, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And also we're rocking some equipment here from Olsa Tools. We've got the Olsa Tools pry bar holder. This thing actually holds quite a bit of weight, to be honest. Magnetic, also has two little slots for screws if you wanted to screw it into something. And we're using their magnetic pad as well. Great for holding nuts and bolts and anything else. Like you can see, it's holding a hammer right now. It's pretty good. We've also got this as well, this silicone covered bolt slash socket slash whatever you need, magnetic strip that we just stick to the hoist. It'll stick to anything metal. And you can see it just holds sockets. It's great for organizing bolts and fasteners. So if you want some cool stuff, go check out Olsa Tools. They got all kinds of stuff. So let's get started. First thing we need to do, get this thing jacked up. Obviously I got a car lift. You at home, jack it up, do whatever you gotta do. Let's get this wheel off. 19mm nuts. Now we've got access to the brakes. We're going to set ourselves up with a little bit of light here so that we can see what the heck we're doing. There, that's much nicer. I'm going to try to turn this so that we can access our brakes a little nicer. That's going to let us get in here to the bolts. So the first thing we're going to want to do here is grab 17mm socket. Like I say, you can use a wrench or just a regular socket and a ratchet, or if you have the luxury of using a gun, go for the gun. Gonna buzz these out here. So these are the slider pins and also the bolts as well. So they're a threaded pin, okay? Now, you can see one's longer than the other, okay? So very important, pay attention to that. You'll know if you put them in the wrong sides because one's gonna go on and the other one's not. But the long one is in the top, the short one is in the bottom. So we're just going to set those aside. We're going to take our brake caliper off. This is where the pry bar comes in handy. We just sort of stick it in underneath of there. Pry this thing off. Now what you can do, if you don't have a big pair of channel locks or something like that, or the proper caliper pushback tool, you can use a pry bar like this and sneak it in between the brake caliper piston and the brake pad to push back the pistons. Works pretty good. And then we can lift that up. You can see how I push those back now. Then we can grab our hook, hook it onto the strut, and then hook our brake caliper up like so. And that way it's not hanging off of this brake hose, because these hoses really just get crimped on, and I've seen them rip off before. So Steel caliper, kind of heavy, be careful. I also forgot to mention too, if you want, probably a good idea to wear some safety protection. You can see I've got gloves on, but safety glasses, hearing protection, steel-toed shoes, all important. You can see these brake pads have been replaced not too long ago. They're actually not in too bad of shape, but it has a really nasty shake in the front. So these rotors, excessive run out, we're just gonna swap them out, but usually they are pretty rusty. So next thing we need to do, take these 2 anchor bolts out, 19 millimeter. You can see somebody's put those in there real tight. Those should only be in at 98 foot-pounds. And just be careful when you take this off, because this is kind of holding the disc on too, right? So if the disc isn't rusted on, it might just fall off, and we don't want that. But you can see in this case it's loose, so we're going to take it off now. But if it was stuck on there and rusted, then that's where you would use the hammer and hammer the back of it. And if you wanted to, you could start a wheel nut on one of the threads, and then that way the disc doesn't come flying off when you're hammering it. So we'll set this to the side, take this disc off, and now we've got access to the hub. So what we want to do now that we've got this off is I'm going to grab this wire brush. I'm going to go throw some safety glasses on, but we just basically want to hit in here, and I'm just going to work my way around. And we're also going to do on these surfaces as well, just to keep everything nice and clean. And once we get that cleaned up, we'll do the brackets as well, and I'll show you that next. I'm just wiping all this old grease and stuff off. There's dirt and chunks of rust and stuff in it. We want to just ensure that this hub surface is as clean as it can be. We don't want any rust, scale, or anything like that on there, because we want a nice, true, clean, flat surface for our disc to go on so that the disc can run true. If there is contamination under there, like a chunk of rust or dirt or whatever, then the disc doesn't sit true. So as you drive down the road, that disc is going to be wobbling back and forth, and when you hit the brakes, you're going to feel it in the brake pedal as a pulsation. All right, I'm just putting a little bit of copper anti-seize around here, just going to help protect against any rust forming. And you put some on here too. Try not to get any on the wheel stud threads. We want those to be clean and dry. We're washing off our disc right now. So it depends on what brakes you buy, but most of them will have an oil coating on them if they're sealed in a bag like this and they're just bare metal like this. Some rotors that you get will come as painted and they will not have oil on them, but if they do have oil on them, we need to get that off so that we don't contaminate our brakes. It's not going to make a huge deal if you don't wash it off. It's not going to be like the end of the world, but you know, it makes a good difference if you wash it off. You don't want that oil and stuff getting in the brake pads. Just makes everything better not to have oil on your brakes. Okay, so that's off. We're good to put this on now. So, boom, set that on there. I'm actually gonna just run one of these wheel nuts down to hold this in place. And we'll see how far on this wheel nut's gonna go. Hopefully it doesn't bottom out, but guess we'll find out. Well, pretty close. It bottomed out, but at least keeps the disc kind of where it's supposed to be anyways. That's just gonna help so that when we go to put our caliper anchor on, this thing isn't flopping around all over the place. So, next thing we need to do is clean the anchor, and I'm gonna head over to the vise and show you how to do that. All right, we've got the anchor in the vise. Now, first thing we're gonna do is remove these metal clips. So these just pop off. Now, if you buy good brakes, they're gonna come with new clips. You'll also notice you're gonna get these as well. These are squealer tabs. They attach to the brake pad, and they're there so that when the brake pad starts to wear down and gets really thin, this rubs up against the disc first before the brakes run out, and they squeal. And it's just indicating that, hey, you're almost out of brakes. So what we gotta do, like I say, we're gonna take all these out. Then we're gonna clean underneath of them in these slots. And you can use a wire brush or a flathead screwdriver or something like that. We wanna clean that out real nice so that there isn't any rust in there. And then once we do, we can put something on there that's gonna keep it from rusting for a while, and then install our new clips. And I'll show you what orientation we need to put those in once I get this cleaned up. All right, so you can see I'm just using some copper anti-seize right here. We're just lathering this thing up. It's gonna stop it from rusting, or at least slow it down anyways. And then also just gonna help keep this from possibly squeaking if it moves. So you'll notice that if you look at this clip, we've got this curved side here, and also there's some little ears that stick out on this side opposed to this side that's flat. So the flat side, we want, this is, my finger is where the disc is going to sit. We want the flat side towards the disc. And we want the curved side to be facing down. So it's going to sit in here like this. Just like that. And then you just grab another one, do the same thing. Now you'll notice, like if I were to try to put that in there, that's backwards. So this one is going to go over here. So just pick out the right ones that you need. This one's going to go here. And stick them in there. That one, that's the right one, so we'll go there. Oops, that one flattened out. Grab a different one. That's the wrong one. Grab that one. Yep, that's the right one. Perfect. All right. So the only other thing I need to tell you is that there are bores inside here. This is a bore, sorry, a hole. It's a hole. The slider pin goes in there, and the whole caliper actually floats on those pins that go inside of these holes. So there is actually a rubber sleeve that goes inside of here. And now on this one, it's a little bit different. It's just a boot. So a full sleeve and just a boot. Now, these are fine, they're clean, but if your caliper slider pins did not come out nice, you would have to clean the insides of those. This one's a little bit different because it's a whole rubber sleeve that comes right through to the other side. So a lot of times you can sort of push this down like so and get a screwdriver started in there and sort of break that free to get it to come out using some spray lube or penetrating oil or something like that, just to like get it all greasy to come out, and then clean all the rust out and put everything back together. But luckily these ones are not rusty. Or if you really want, you just buy a brand new caliper and not have to worry about any of that and just put it on. But anyhow, let's go back over to the car. We're ready to put this thing on now basically and start going back together. So it can only go on in one direction. Goes on like this, right? Just how we took it off. Stick this in here. get those started. We're gonna run them down with the gun, but then we're gonna follow it up with the torque wrench. Important step, torque wrench. So now we need to torque those down to 98 foot-pounds. So I'm going to turn this bad boy on. You don't need one of these super fancy-dancy torque wrenches. Olsa Tools, they sell torque wrenches. They're pretty affordable. Check them out. On the money. 2 for 2. Perfect. You can see I went a little bit over. Only by a couple foot-pounds, no big deal. I'd rather be a little tighter than a little looser. So now we need to take our brake pads. And we're pretty much ready to put these things on. I'm gonna grab those squealer tabs. We'll get that on. All right, so you only get 2 of these in the bag. These are the squealer tabs I was telling you about. Now, so you get 1 per side, right? So generally you want to put these on the inside brake pad. Doesn't matter top or bottom really, but I like to, in this case, seeing as the disc is going this way, I would want to put it at the top. If this were to act as sort of a spring, it's going to keep the brake pad pushed down. That's a good thing. If you had it put on the bottom and it wants to push the brake pad up, every time you would hit the brakes, the brake pad might make a click noise. So important, inside, top. Now for these brake pads, you can see with the depth of that tab, there's really only one place for it, and that is actually on the ear itself, which kind of makes sense because it's the same diameter as the ear and everything, so I guess that's just where they go. The other ones didn't have them on there. It's really not that big of a deal if you don't have them. It's not the end of the world. Up to you. I did actually put it in, we checked it, it does fit in there and everything, but I'm just gonna leave these off because I don't want a customer coming back for some stupid reason. Anyhow, so now you gotta put these things in here, and sometimes they can be a bit of a chore. These clips get all flippity floppity on you. You can see how when I push down, it wants to just fold the clip up like that. So we need to try to just get those clips to behave while we put them in. We don't want to completely mangle them. There, just like that. So you can see we've got them started in there. Everything's sitting where it needs to sit, looking good. Gonna do the same thing over here. So I'm just gonna start one, and then hopefully get this bottom one in here. Yeah, kind of a stupid design. Those clips, how they got the like spring back thing on them. Just makes them want to fall out of the holder the second you try to put the brake pads in. Gotta have a lot of patience if you work on cars, man, I tell you. Just makes you want to walk away some days. Oh, that one's falling out. There you go, just like that, really easy. Now we can install our brake caliper. We're pretty much ready now. So unhook this thing. Hopefully I push these back far enough. We might be able to push them back more if it doesn't fit. So let's see. Yep, definitely got to push them back more. They're pretty close, but we're gonna have to just cram them back. I'm gonna go get some pliers, but yeah, usually I have pretty good luck with just being able to stick the pry bar in there and push them back before I go ahead and take that off and disassemble all the brakes, but I'm gonna go get a tool with dualies. All right, so I'm using my big pliers here, pushing one at a time, slowly here, trying to work them back and forth. You can use the old brake pad and set it in there if you want to push them both back. But yeah, those are the pliers. If you want, there's the part number. AWP 160. Real expensive. Then we just put these on. Watch the rubber boots. We want those to not get folded over because we need to slide a pin into that hole. Just like so. And then we're gonna grab our pins and put those in. Now, if you wanted to lube up the pins, you're gonna wanna use a silicone-based grease that's meant for brake parts, only because of the rubber slides. If you were to use a petroleum-based product like anti-seize or a lot of penetrating oils, it's gonna cause that rubber to swell. And that's going to either compromise the seal between the pin, allowing moisture inside, which is gonna rust and cause it to seize, or also swell the rubber and just put a lot of tension on the pin, and the pin's gonna drag and your brake pads are gonna wear unevenly. So, silicone brake grease. Remember, we got small pin, large pin. Large pin was at the top, right? Small pin, bottom. Hand start these into the caliper before we go and ram them down with the gun. Remember, those are only in a 25 foot-pound, so not very much. If you're using a gun, do not go gung-ho on these things. Also, one other thing to take note of is the brake hose. We don't want to have that twisted up. That is how it's supposed to look. Make sure that it looks like that. All right, now we're going to grab a torque wrench once again. Click these caliper pins down. All right, that was actually 30 foot-pounds. So now we just need to put the wheel on. So I'm gonna get this wheel nut off. We wanna make sure to, back of the rim, clean that surface, make sure that there's no corrosion or rust on there. We want a nice clean flat surface for when we put that on. All right, get your wheel started. We're gonna hand start all of these wheel nuts. Never put these on a gun and just send them down. There's a good chance you'll cross thread a stud. So you can see I just did that in a 5-star pattern, right? And I don't want to crank them down too tight because we're going to hand torque them. And when I hand torque them, same thing, 5-star pattern. 100 foot-pounds. I'm going to do 2 passes of that just to make sure that everything's cool. And obviously you want to re-torque the wheels after 100 kilometers or 60 miles, I think, of driving, just to be sure, right? We don't want any loose wheels happening. So, all right, now we're going to lower this thing down. We're going to torque these wheels, and that's it. Pretty much it. I hope you enjoyed the video, found it helpful. If you did, give us a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe. It really helps us out more than you know. And as always, keep on watching, keep on fixing cars. We'll see you in the next one.